5, 4, 3.
Yummy like a gummy bear.
It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for September 18th, 2024. For the next hour or so, let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, it has happened. Switch 2 images have leaked, but are they real? You know that doesn't matter. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host, the Game Mess Mornings. It's Lucy James, everybody. Lucy, how are you doing?
Where can I find these leaked Switch 2 images? There are just so many websites. Which one are the Switch 2 images on?
No, it's everywhere. Lucy James, how are you doing?
I'm good. I don't know, figuring out my lighting in the morning.
It's impossible.
It's fine.
No,
it's
actually.
fine. But otherwise, I'm well. Went to Godzilla Fest at the weekend.
Ooh, how was that?
Paid $30 to go to a gym full of Godzilla merch for sale.
Okay, it
But
sounds like a
I
pretty
had
good
a
time to me.
I had a lovely time. No, and then otherwise keeping on, going to Barcelona next week for a
Yeah.
wedding, all happening.
Yes.
Barcelona.
Well, I can't see that word anymore without thinking that way of saying it. Barcelona. Absolutely. Yeah, a lot of travel still for the crew.
Yep.
Trying to do that's just that time of year. A lot of these companies have a lot of different events. Can you say why you're going to Barcelona? I can't remember. I don't even remember why you're going.
It's a heavily ND. No, it's my friend's wedding.
Okay, there we go. Wow, friendiate then. Yeah, there you go.
No, it's a friend's wedding. So very excited. Actual little break, and then going back to the UK for a week, see the family, and yeah,
good deal.
And good deal.
Yeah,
Good.
and then it's and then it does feel like sprint to the end of the year. Like it's going to be nonstop. All kinds of games coming out. We're thinking about Game of the Year stuff already. It's happening. God, it is the final quarter approaches. But I right now am enjoying kind of like I'm going to take some time from all these games coming out, and I'm just going to play the games I want to play. So that has been Star Wars Outlaws, actually, which I continue to enjoy more and more the more I play it.
Good. Yeah, I don't know. I will probably get to Star Wars Outlaws maybe when things die down a little bit. I'm playing a bunch of stuff that I am like I don't know. Like I could have mixed and matching. I'm still doing like Fields of Mystery, popping in on that. I think I've tricked myself into thinking that I will have that gap in the year when I can definitely just play all these games at some point, and I don't think that. Someone just said, Lucy's forgetting about her Blight Club, huh? You can't take time off, Lucy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But no, so I'm playing a mix of stuff that I'm very eager to talk about soon.
Yeah. You do you have a Wii?
An original Wii?
Or a Wii U, I guess.
No, I'm afraid.
No, that's fine. So we're trying to. I'm like, well, I get to choose your game because I
well,
won.
I could get one from the office.
Yeah, I'm like, okay. Well, then I just want to see what options are on the table.
Yeah,
so.
I was gonna say, yeah. I mean, whatever. John Luke can facilitate consoles, etc.
When Chip says you can't ask people that. Yeah, sorry, I shouldn't ask if you have a Wii. You're right. That's right. That's private. Shouldn't do that.
It's private. Proprietary information.
Proprietary information, absolutely. Yeah, we have some pretty good ideas. Mostly, I think I'm going to choose based on the outfit. It would be funniest to see you dressed up in, because we'll also have to send you that. So yeah, I can't wait either. It's going to be very good. For people wondering, Blight Club happening today. So Mike should be on what feels like is going to be episode 3 of 4 of Alone in the Mitch. So yep, next couple of weeks might be able to make the Lucy episode happen. Of course. Time permitting. We'll see how that goes, everybody.
I think mid-October is when
mid-October also feels like right when we should be good for that. And if we sometimes take a break between seasons, so we could do a Delight Club. There's a whole bunch of things we could do, but we'll try to get it done by I'm halfway there. Mike and chat singing.
He's living on a prayer.
All right, let's explain what we do here most weekdays. I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you were watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with alleged images of Nintendo's new Switch have appeared online. This is from Andy Robinson at VGC. Alleged images of the Nintendo Switch successor console have appeared online, showing a design that's not too dissimilar from the previous console. The images, which appeared on Reddit but were originally sourced from a Chinese social media site, show a device with a larger 8-inch screen, magnetic Joy-Cons, and USB-C ports on both the top and the bottom. That sounds good to me. While the images are unverified, one source who has not seen the final Switch 2 console but has been briefed on Nintendo's plans told VGC that the Reddit images match what the company has told partners to expect from its design. VGC has asked Nintendo for a comment on the story, and Nintendo, of course, laughed at them. That's been my experience, at least. Maybe that didn't happen here.
Wait, hang on. I'm on the Reddit post.
Yeah, I'll get the images up for everybody to take a look at here.
Update 13:59 UTC. What time was that?
That's not a real time. But
okay.
What's the update?
The CAD renders may not be legitimate.
Yeah.
It wasn't stated that the renders were mock-ups. However, the original poster was a 3D modeling enthusiast. So it's a possibility that should be considered. Nevertheless, the 2 photos depicting actual hardware are likely real.
So, you can see here there's some real hardware mixed in with these renders. Let's see here. I'll say that these things might not be from Nintendo real, but I think there's still a chance that this is based on like the specifications that Nintendo's maybe handed out to some partners in the last few weeks, where it's like, here's what to expect. So if you're building, if you're trying to make products, third-party products as accessories, maybe that is something that you can start doing based on these specifications, and then someone could take that and render it. It just doesn't look like a render out of Nintendo Company Limited in Japan. I don't think this is how they would actually present this console in any context, really. But before we get into any more of that, though, Lucy, let's just operate under an assumption here that this is real. When you see this, how do you feel about the Switch 2 looking at this design?
Meet the new Switch. Same as the old Switch. No,
for audio listeners, it looks a lot like a Switch. Honestly, it looks at a glance, it is just a Switch. It's very hard to tell the difference. Maybe a little bit more rounded on the corners. I do love the idea of a USB-C port on the top and the bottom. That's great. Magnetic Joy-Cons, if that means that they will be more secure, which we're thinking they're going to use that electric current. Those magnets, when a current runs through it, like it sort of locks into place. When you send a new current through it, it unlocks it. So hopefully it's very sturdy. All that stuff sounds great. Just looking at it, though, it's like, oh, that is just a Switch again. And I kind of can't help, as stupid it is, to be a little disappointed, because this is what I want, Lucy. I want it to just be a Switch again. So why am I disappointed?
Because we grew up in late stage capitalism.
Yeah, it's forced obsolescence has been my entire life, and I want tell me there's a reason to upgrade, even if it's a reason I don't really care about.
But that's the thing where it's like, oh God, this is reminding me. I need to sell my day one Switch before the market gets flooded.
It's gonna crash.
Yeah, I got an OLED one, and I just, because of the way that I am, I just have my old one just sat in a drawer, and I'm like, that's
same. Yeah, absolutely. I got 2 or 3 back there.
Keep it for crimes? Absolutely not.
Original.
No, I don't know. Like, the thing about Nintendo is that I am sure, like, obviously, whatever this is going to be fake, if these images are fake or not, it's like whatever Nintendo has. For me, it's more about the software than the hardware. Like, I'm interested to see what the new gimmick is, and I use gimmick with love. I use it. I'm not saying that a gimmick is like, a bad thing when it comes to consoles and stuff, but there's always something cool and something that no one else is doing, and that's what I'm excited about. I'm excited for Nintendo to do Nintendo's thing and show off this console. I'm ready for do you remember the advert where it's like the person who brought it, the first Switch advert where they brought it to the party?
Of course,
like a friend of mine went as that person for Halloween.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And so, like, I don't know, I'm excited for all that part of it. That's the part that I get excited about it, because at this point, speculation based off random renders, it's just not as fun for me. I think
it's part of the process, right? It's
but
part
it
of
is part of the process.
It's part of what we go through. It's very familiar if people are paying attention to the Nintendo NX. There were multiple false starts there, lots of really wild designs. People didn't really know what to expect. There was that oval shaped one that was all screen, and the buttons would pop up around the analog sticks digitally. It was absurd. But yeah, it's part of the process, and it feels like, okay, this is very familiar territory in that, oh, we're back home, we're here, and we're probably racing toward the reveal that might confirm all this or might actually make us realize, oh, this was a mistake for the most part. But, this stuff lines up right now with what we've heard recently of it is in production now. People like workers, each individual worker is getting their hands on 1,000 Switch 2 systems per day. And the other rumors that Nintendo was probably maybe thinking about announcing some sort of or releasing some sort of announcement this month. Those were things that were kind of going around at the last couple of conventions. And so, yeah, if that stuff's out there happening, that means they are like these things. The hardware exists. Some people have seen it. They have their phones with them. Maybe they could take a picture of it. They're probably shooting commercials. That lady from the first Switch trailer has probably come back to shoot a Switch 2 trailer. And maybe she's leaking stuff. So, yeah.
Maybe she's giving it to her kids.
Yeah, right. It's been long enough. Right.
It's been
she
7 years.
Met her soulmate at that party.
At that rooftop party.
And so she's got a 6-year-old at home right now who's very into Astro. He's like, no, you got to see this real shit.
No,
here's the Switch.
She's
2.
a 6-year-old at home who's going to get Mario Kart 8 and is going to fucking enjoy it.
Yes, exactly. Once again. Yeah, I as always, I wish Nintendo would just come out, tell us what this thing really is. But part of me has grown to enjoy this part of the process as well. And like even Andy's like, gotta take this with a grain of salt. I'm like, yeah, I'm right there with you. But these real images are like, I say real, as in
the one that Digital Foundry posted, like that's in that thing too. I was like, why would you make a motherboard and stuff? Like, why would you make all the internal shit? Like,
oh, you mean for the rendering?
No, hang on.
Yeah, send it to me.
Digital Foundry.
Put it in the giant bomb chat if you could.
Someone did earlier, and that's where I got it from. Here you go.
Yeah, here we go.
Oh yeah, okay. There it is. Yeah. Here. Why fake a motherboard?
Yeah. So right, this is what. Yeah, exactly. So of this leak here that Andy has, he's got these images as well. There's all these renders that do look very like placeholder and stuff that might go into a technical manual for, like I said, partners. Then there's these 2 images. I think there's these 2 images where it's like, it's not the blue background. It is, here's the side of the Joy-Cons, the new Joy-Cons. And then here is the motherboard inside of the unit, as well as the what looks like the holder for the battery. And this is stuff that is probably not faked. And if I'll say probably, and we'll get to a certain area where it could still be fake, because again, you got to remember that the history of people faking these things has been very storied. People have gone to great lengths. It's probably not fake, because this is only just now happened the week that we heard it's going into production. This is probably out there, and again, this is probably why Nintendo will announce something here very soon. But sure, you fake the renders, and then you get a 3D printer and you fake this as well. That people have definitely done 3D printed stuff to do hoaxes in the past. That would not be out of the realm of possibility.
Purple People Eater raises the fantastic point, which is, do we know what Jeff Baclar has been 3D printing recently?
We don't. He's been very quiet. Very quiet.
He's been 3D printing JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Like, that man is so deep on JoJo's Bizarre Adventure now.
I think if you zoom out here, you will see all the JoJo dolls and the mini custom keyboard
machine.
Pinball machines. Yeah, exactly. And I think that it's very incriminating for Jeff Baclar. He should just accept that.
Hang on. What's this from one Dan Reichert?
Probably the movie. I'm gonna bet it's the movie Noobs. I'm gonna bet that.
It's actually not.
It's not. Okay. Let's take a look here. Dan Reichert in chat says, "Oh yeah." Nintendo on. Yeah, Nintendo on. Yeah, this is probably what I was thinking of. I couldn't think of the exact thing. God, let me put this here just so people can see it. For audio listeners, the Nintendo on was one of these hoaxes way in the past. Let's Yeah, it's like it had like it kind of looks like the YouTube logo.
It really
Right.
does.
Yeah.
There's it looks like that company that helps you. It looks like a company that helps you switch to a cheaper electricity supplier.
Yes, for real. Either way, I am. Oh, I almost switched to this scene with Alf and pizza going everywhere. Let me go over here instead. There we go.
Oh.
It's a good time. I just have that just in case we ever need it.
Okay, good.
I'll switch to who knows when that thing's coming out. Nintendo said they want to sell 15 million Switches this year. They just introduced new bundles with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, as you alluded to, yet again for this holiday. They have told investors not to expect it this financial year, which means not until March. So that's the groundwork. All that stuff out of the way. If they were to, let's say, have a reveal trailer this week, next week, before Tokyo Game Show sometime, do you think that means that this system could be out as early as April?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Nintendo's ready to move on.
I think the world is ready for Nintendo to move on.
That's definitely true. Right. I think Nintendo's finally sorting them like, oh, okay, people are not buying as many Switches as we want them to. That's our bad. Let's get the Switch 2 out.
Unless you're on Facebook Marketplace in the broader San Francisco area, baby. You gotta keep buying the Switch.
Clarify it's a launch Switch. I promise you that thing will sell for reasons.
Good.
Yeah.
The problem is that I bought it in the UK, so I only have a UK powered up.
Yeah, but it's all US.
Sell it without it. It's USB-C.
It's all USB-C in the end. Yeah. We'll see. I'm with you that it's if this thing gets announced soon, April's still on the table. Although if it's not April, I don't think it'll be the summer. So April, May.
No, April feels right.
Yeah.
Right.
And we've heard that they originally maybe thinking about launching it this year, and then it got moved because they wanted to work on the games more. A 6-month delay-ish for the games, so that does put it in the April-May time zone. Some of those games could release in the summer. That feels about right. I don't know if they don't need a whole year. Now that said, who knows? Maybe the Mario game is the specific thing they're worried about, and that they want to get that just right. Maybe that does take a whole year, and they don't want to launch without that thing. We'll see. But yeah, real details should start to come out here pretty soon. All right.
Wait, I've just thought.
Please.
So you know how in all the marketing for the Switch, whenever they do the video, they have the snap.
Yes, they have that.
For Switch 2, are they going to have to do?
Yeah. That's not bad, Lucy. It's like you.
Nintendo.
20%. Cut the check.
Cut the check.
Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered leaks on ESRB website. It said what all the kids are clamoring for. From Darren Bonthus as I wrote it here, apparently Darren Bonthus at GameSpot. Sorry, Darren. Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered has been rated by the ESRB, suggesting that an upgraded version of the open world game is in development for PS5 and PC. First released for PS4 only in 2017, Horizon Zero Dawn was later ported to PC in 2020 and received a sequel, Horizon Forbidden West, in 2023. Rumors of a remaster first popped up in 2022 as reports claimed that accessibility features, graphical modes, and quality of life improvements to the gameplay itself would bring the game up to the same standard as its sequel. This thing's probably happening. We've heard about it for actually quite some time. It could be announced in that state of play that is probably coming up on the 24th, almost certainly happening on the 24th. I don't know if this will definitely be in there, but it makes sense. So it seems to be lining up. Lucy, my question to you is why?
What are we doing here? Like, I don't know. I'm not, I don't like to shit on things, so I'm not going to. I'm not a big fan of the Horizon IP. I'm also not a big fan of PlayStation's refusal to put Bloodborne on PS5 or like remaster a game that like would benefit from it from like a 60 frames per second or
PC. Here again, because of this, that still don't expect Bloodborne. Everybody it's still no on the Bloodborne. But
you know how annoying 2025 is going to be.
Yeah.
Yep. The 10th anniversary of Bloodborne is going to be so annoying.
And a PS5 Pro's out, and it's just like all these other games are getting updated.
Yeah. Anyway, no, Horizon is just a franchise I've never been a fan of. Like, in particular, I never really gelled with it. I also, I'm really not a fan of the way that PlayStation picks and chooses how to remaster games. Obviously, The Last of Us is the key contender there, where it comes to, in my mind, seemingly unnecessary upgrades or updates. I don't know, man. Why are we doing this?
Yeah, I mean, I could think of...
People will buy it. I don't want to yuck anyone's yum.
Right,
if you want to buy
it,
like it's a good-looking game. It's a very good-looking game. The Decima engine is beautiful. Forbidden West and Zero Dawn, both very, very beautiful. They've got a lot of faith in the Horizon IP. You got that Lego game coming out. We also have the rumored multiplayer game.
Yep, it's
sure.
Unless
they're doing this to raise brand awareness, where it's like, hey, we're going to announce. Yeah, there's a ton of reasons.
It's mostly like, it says someone in the chat said, I'm sorry, went by. They just want this game on the shelf and have it say PS5 because they think that the games will sell longer than ever before. That's the biggest reason. The second biggest reason, like that's the reason you can get the green light. The reason the team wants to do it is because they do bring in new employees all the time, and having them work on remasters to get them accustomed to their processes and their engine and all this other stuff is very useful for them. So they're like, in between our games, you're going to come in here and you're going to work on these remasters, and that's going to get you ready to work on the next real big project that will be coming much later. So I get it, but from a presentation of like, here's what PlayStation is these days, if this this does sort of like put like chinks in the armor a little bit of like, hey, PlayStation doing brand new fun exciting things, and then it goes by a couple of years of, well, okay, Spider-Man Astrobot, no complaints, except for everything else is a remaster. So I just think from a perception point of view, this just continues to feed into a narrative of Sony's playing it safe. And I think the reality is that a lot of those studios are busy making new things. They're taking longer than ever. And in a couple years, most people will forget this few year period where they did have mostly remasters because all these studios were reloading at the same time. But that doesn't take away from the fact that in this moment, they're asking people to spend $700 on a PS5 and a PS5 Pro. And the biggest and best pitches for new experience is actually that old game slightly remastered so it can have better accessibility features, which, hey, that's awesome, but you don't need a remaster to do that necessarily.
I was going to say, if they are putting in better accessibility features, and like the PlayStation Accessibility Suite, it's fantastic. So, I will definitely absolutely concede that like putting accessibility options in games is a pro of doing this remaster, whatever the hell we're calling it.
Yeah. There's I don't know what it is, but when I was asking about this, there's some other remaster kind of the works that will be even less exciting, I've heard. And that was when it was like, and that's definitely not Bloodborne. So,
for God's sake.
Yeah. State of Play probably will get announced there. Do you think they like put anything else into that State of Play that's bigger, that is from first party, to sort of offset this perception, especially with the PS5 Pro getting announced? Like, because you got to tell people, like, I know their pitch so far has been, look at all these games running better on PS5 Pro. But when you ask people in the console space to spend $700 on new hardware, usually you're accompanying that with, and here's something that is going to take advantage of that is completely new. Like a Ghost of Tsushima feels like now the time is right, but we've been saying that for the last several State of Plays and showcases, and it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, something from first party needs to, like, come out swinging to convince people to, hey, remember all the games on PlayStation, but also I thought Tsushima was very good, by the way. Yeah, something from first party needs to come out. Do you think PSVR 2 will get mentioned?
No. Well,
no.
There's that new rumor that they're going to have a wireless PSVR 2, but I don't know. To me, that feels like it just muddies the water right now, because you're already asking people. You want people to spend the $700 on the PS5 Pro, and don't distract them with their budgets with the PSVR 2. For as much as like I don't think most people will be distracted by that, just focus on the one thing at a time. And then so they still have the existing PSVR 2, and many people have bought that, or some people have bought that. So they mention that. They haven't so far. That the PS5 Pro announcement happened, and there was a chance there to say, and PSVR 2 stuff runs better, and they didn't take that opportunity to do that then. So I don't think they're going to really bring that back into the fold in any real way. And the big part of that is they're just not investing in that, and there's not a lot of studios to invest in to make those kinds of games right now. So
yeah, I mean, in terms of other studios, Bend, you've got
how long's it been since Returnal? It's been
Returnal was 2021.
Okay, so we're kind of getting to a point where maybe they could announce something.
Yeah. What was the other one I was thinking of? Maybe like the Venom game.
Oh, Venom. Yeah, I think that's a good call actually. Because that's going to be the expand alone. We are now a full year out from the release of Spider-Man 2, right? So announcing that for next year as like 18 months later, here's the expand alone Venom 2. Yeah.
Yeah. Or like Santa Monica's new game, whatever they're working on over there. Like they have a bunch of stuff to pull from. I really hope someone comes out swinging with this one. Like it feels like console space in general is just in this weird stagnating. We talked about it on the Bombcast yesterday. Horizon 3, baby.
Well, we know that's inevitable.
If that's the case, I will be upset.
Yeah. But I think the most likely is probably Ghost of Tsushima, and then right after that would be Venom. As for things that could show up at the State of Play, of course, it's a State of Play. So maybe the most likely scenario is none of that happens, and it's mostly third-party partners. I, as always, prepare to be disappointed by a State of Play. That's just kind of what those things have been. They are marketing obligations more than they are anything else. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, plenty more headlines to get into. EA had a few more things to say about what they're working on, and Square Enix talked about their disappointment in Final Fantasy right after this. All right, we are back, and let's do this thing here. Square Enix says Final Fantasy XVI and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth didn't meet sales expectations. This is from Blair Marnell and GameSpot, or at GameSpot, not and GameSpot. That would be weird. GameSpot's not a person. Within the past 2 years,
isn't it?
Well, guys, I've never been in the same room as them, so I don't know. Within the past 2 years, Final Fantasy fans have been treated to two major releases in the franchise that were met with critical acclaim. But according to Square Enix, Final Fantasy XVI and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth have both failed to live up to the company's sales expectations. Via IGN, Square Enix disclosed the disappointing results during a financial results briefing in May, but the company only released the information yesterday. No sales figures for the games were provided, nor did the report state how far away the two titles were from Square Enix's projections. This is going to be a little bit of the boy who cried wolf for Square Enix, right? Because they are so frequently disappointed with the sales things, sales expectations being so out of line with reality. It felt like in the past, going back to Tomb Raider, so many times in the past.
Western games, 100% would always get smacked with that.
It would just be the whipping boy. They would absolutely just get taken to the woodshed every time there was a financial report from Square Enix to be like, this is why things aren't as good as they could be because of this Western studio. Now they don't have those studios anymore. And they kind of have no other thing they can really say other than, yeah, Final Fantasy didn't do what we needed to do. But that was because of, and they've said this now, exclusivity. We are moving past that. These games need to be everywhere. No matter how much money Sony wants to give us, we can't take it anymore. We got to put this thing out everywhere. Do you have any other way of like diagnosing any other problems with Final Fantasy beyond the exclusivity? Or do you think that really is the bulk of the case here?
Diagnosing issues with Final Fantasy. I mean, yeah, exclusivity is part of it. You know who'd be really good to talk about this with is Alex Donaldson from RPG Site. He has some really good insight on how Square kind of operates as a company and how they. I saw him a couple weeks ago, and yeah, we were chatting about some stuff. But like, yeah, I don't know. Square is a very, very strange company. In how they operate in general. It feels like their games never meet expectations, which you gotta say, like, from a PR point of view, they could surely like PR their stuff better, or at least be better about setting expectations. Yeah. Although, yeah, Daniel Ahmed says this is one of the rare cases where Square Enix is being reasonable, as both games really did underperform compared to past entries.
They did.
Yeah, I mean, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, that's like 4 years.
And there's caveats
a different console,
that people
a different
bring up.
console generation in between.
Yep.
Final Fantasy XVI, depending on how long it took to make that game and how expensive it is.
Well, I mean, and it didn't perform comparable to Final Fantasy 15. It just didn't.
Yeah.
The caveats would be, like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was on a system that had fewer people because it was earlier in the generation relative to when Final Fantasy VII Remake came out, and there was some other excuses probably. Not that I'm saying, those are excuses.
Pikunagi raises an amazing point, which was Final Fantasy VII Remake launched height of COVID.
Yeah, right, and that probably does have some effect on it for sure. I also think it's the part 2 effect of a trilogy where the part 2 always does the worst until all things are said and done. Because people are like, okay, well, I might just now wait until the third one's out, play them all together. And that's easier to justify if you already waited on the first game. And then a lot of people who did play the first game might be feeling like, oh, okay, I want to continue the story, but I want to continue it when I can see it through the end. So caveats, obviously. That doesn't really matter to Square Enix. They have to put out products that perform based on how much they spend to make them, and that's what all these expectations are always set on. And they spent it seemingly a lot of money on both Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Final Fantasy XVI because they thought those big investments would pay off. They didn't. At this point, you put them on. I guess you put them on Xbox. There was definitely that announcement of like, hey, a lot of stuff's going to end up on Xbox now going forward. I don't know how much that changes the calculus on things.
That's not gonna move the needle.
Not really, but coming out on PC at the same time, do you think that helps?
PC absolutely would. Xbox is not going to move the needle in terms of sales.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's kind of clear that that's scary. I mean, it won't hurt. It's not going to hurt to be on there. And I think if you're on Xbox, that makes it easier to get the check 6 months later to get on Game Pass, and that will help as well. And Microsoft does seem willing to pay quite a bit of money for games like that to get on Game Pass 6 months later, as at least based on companies like Sega returning to it over and over again. So we'll see. I do think though that Final Fantasy 17 comes along and it's different from Final Fantasy 16 in that it maybe goes back to the basics a little bit, maybe like very fantasy, maybe turn-based. I don't know.
I think it's time to drop the numbers and go back to Final Fantasy.
You want a full reboot, the Final Fantasy?
Not a full reboot. I think just titling wise, if you are someone who never grew up with a Final Fantasy game, can I pick it up at the 16th game? Like, if you're walking past a shelf, imagine a world where retail is still as valuable as it used to be, right? If you've never played a Final Fantasy before, you don't even know anything about it, you're maybe just getting into gaming.
Yeah.
You walk past a shelf and you see Final Fantasy 16, I'm like, well, I'm not going to start at 16.
You're almost certainly right that does go through a lot of people's brains. It's like, if there's one series that has been able to like make it clear, like, well, yeah, it's that number's tradition, but it doesn't refer to the actual, like, you need to know all these games before that. But I think what made me realize that doesn't matter is when I found out that people, when they start a new podcast, some people will just listen to every episode, even if it's like a weekly news show or something like that. Damn. And it's just like, and you don't need to catch up on the history of this podcast. Just start listening today. That's how it's meant to be listened to. But some people just feel the need to be completionist. And and that's, I think that's part of it's built into our brains in a lot of ways. So I think you're probably right. I personally want them to see them stick with the numbers because I think it would be cowardly to abandon it at this
point. Final Fantasy 20.
Yeah, I want to see
20 and then the 20, clock, and
then we can talk.
And then the clock resets.
Yes, exactly. That's fair. I can accept that. All right. The new Star Wars Jedi game set to wrap up the trilogy. This is from Stefanovic at DualShockers. EA has just confirmed that the next Star Wars Jedi title will be the last chapter within the series. While some of the latest Star Wars titles were a bit, let's say, underwhelming, EA is still confident that their newest products will be well received. Barring a major surprise, the new title will again revolve around Cal Kestis, a former Jedi Padawan we met in Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Given the current progression of the story, our hero will likely continue seeking refuge for fellow Jedis or possibly launch a major counteroffensive against the Empire. Both Fallen Order and Star Wars Jedi Survivor were immensely popular. This is we've known for a while. I remember reporting on this show. Yeah, they've started work on the next one. They're going to do the trilogy, at least finish that out. And now EA at their big investor meeting, talking to investors, like it was like, you know, how like television channels have their TV day where they go to have the upfronts and all that stuff and talk to advertisers. Seemed like EA was doing something like that with investors, and they were saying, hey, in this next Star Wars game, the Star Wars Jedi game, in a series that has had like 40 million players or something like that, we are going to follow that up with the conclusion of the trilogy. And yeah, I think Respawn should see that through. That seems like a good use of their time. I think that's a pretty good franchise. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. As someone who has completely fallen off with Star Wars in general, I do actually really enjoy Star Wars Jedi games because they are, I don't know, well made. They're fun. I enjoy Cal Kestis as a protagonist. Like,
Cal has won me over.
He has. He's done a good job. Yep. But no, also those games sold really well. So yeah. Good.
The EA has sort of relaunched Survivor in the last week or so with by putting on the last gen consoles. PS4 and Xbox One. It's going to be on that VCR. And then if you run those last gen games on the new consoles, you actually get 60 frames per second. So a lot of people are like, and it's all on the disc, which was not like you need to patch the disc version of Survivor if you get it for PS5 or Xbox Series X. And so people are like, hey, if you want to have the whole game on the disc and run at 60 frames per second, now at a much reduced image quality, this is like maybe a good way to play the game. And I'm like, well, I'm not that desperate, but but I mean, it's cool.
Good. I mean, that's a really cool move.
Yeah, it's cool.
EA.
Yeah, I'm glad it worked that way. But I do hope that all these improvements mean the game runs better on like the Ally or the Steam Decks. Then I will actually get this game finally finished, which I never was able to do last time.
I think I was playing it on PlayStation.
Bloodline Jake says the PC version is still fucked. So of course it is.
Of course it is.
Yeah. Well, hopefully. And now Don Cabeza in chat says no, they just fixed it. So I bet right now Digital Foundry is working on a video on like, hey, this last gen version. Because I'm super interested in it, and usually when I'm interested in something, it's like I looked and Digital Foundry's about to publish a video about it. So hopefully they also check in on the PC version at that same time. And people are saying maybe it's just less bad. We'll see. That was a bad version, which is the real reason I stopped playing, because it just wasn't easy to enjoy. EA confirms more details on the Sims movie. This is from Alex Hopley at Game Reactor. For a while now, we've known that a Sims movie is going ahead with Amazon MGM, but yesterday, EA dropped a whole bunch of information on the Sims future. The Sims future.
Let's get into that.
Yes, and of course, that includes the movie. In a blog post, EA confirms that a film is indeed in the works at Amazon MGM. We're not sure what stage the production is in, but Kate Herron is set to direct and co-write with Bryony Redman, and Margot Robbie is involved as suspected, as her company Lucky Chap will be producing alongside Vertigo Entertainment. So, you know, she's got a string of really popular hit movies going back to that I, Tonya movie that she's produced and done really good work on. So, I bet this
what was the name of that actress?
Margot Robbie? Robbie, yes.
Robbie.
The Margot threw me off. Is Margot? Margot Robbie, yes. I bet this movie actually does come through. With a lot of video game movies, they don't. I bet this happens.
But the thing that I'm I'm not that creative. But like realistically, it's going to be very similar to Barbie, isn't it? It's because it's going to be
very easily could be
a sim who doesn't realize they're being controlled, and then one day, Sim living their everyday life, don't realize they're being controlled. Everything seems fine and okay, but then one day a neighbor goes into the pool and the pool ladder randomly vanishes, and then the neighbor dies, and then they realize, wait, something's not right,
really bad,
and start seeing glitches in the Matrix. And then one day they look in the mirror and bam, plumb bob above the head. And then the Sim is like, oh, but what if I die? Do you ever think about dying? And the Sim is Margot Robbie. I
want to watch this though. That sounds fantastic. Yeah. Honestly, like them trying to figure out like how the ladder could have possibly disappeared. That could just be the whole movie.
But then I really, really hope, because there is so much weird Sim shit you could get into, not even just including the storylines and stuff, but there are really random spin-offs like Sims Medieval, My Sims, Sims Online.
Oh, that game of the year winner, online game of the year.
Oh God. Yeah, Margot, call me. Got ideas.
Well, hey, there's more Sims stuff happening. The Sims 5 is apparently not actually in the works. Instead, that Project Renee, that is the follow-up in some ways at EA, is a Sims multiplayer game. This is from Alex Hopley at Game Reactor. Maybe it's Hopley. For years now, people have believed EA was working on The Sims 5. The Sims 4 is a decade old, after all, and while millions of people love the franchise, they're often looking for something new. However, as EA confirmed following a recent presentation, The Sims 5 is not in the cards. The franchise general manager and EA vice president, Kate Gorman, told Variety why The Sims 5 won't be coming. The way to think about it is, historically, the Sims franchise started with Sims 1, then Sims 2, 3, and 4. Oh, is that how it happened? And they were seen as replacements for the previous products, Gorman said. What we're really working with our community on is a new era of the Sims. We are not going to be working on replacements of previous projects. We're only going to be adding to our universe. Gorman clarified, saying it's not Sims 5 as a replacement for Sims 4. And then this is no longer a quote, that doesn't mean we won't see additions to the Sim franchise. Of course, expansions for the Sim 4 will keep coming, and there's a multiplayer game in the works too, and hopefully we'll hear more soon about the elusive Project Renee. I mean, this does seem like maybe the right move in some ways. But do you think that like the Sims could use a major refresh with the Sims 5 that replaces things, or what do you want from the series?
My main issue with the Sims 4 as it currently stands is, and I'm pretty sure every single Sims 4 player would agree with me, is the sheer amount of content that is paywalled by stuff packs, expansion packs, kits, whatever. It's too much. So the game has also just went over a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, went to free to play. I can definitely see creep of encouraging people to buy that, and obviously that makes a bunch of sense. Like, Don Cheadle says, is there a Sims Plus subscription? That to me seems like the next thing that they would implement, where they have so much stuff. And the thing is that gameplay changes dramatically depending on your expansion pack. Also, in terms of modding or downloading custom content, frequently they require you to have specific things or specific packs installed. Otherwise, straight up, you just can't download the thing from the gallery, and it just like updates it with something that you already have, and it doesn't. Like you find a really perfect house, and you're like, damn, I want that in my game, and then it's like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't have the laundry room kit stuff, so I can't have this. Anyway, so Don Cheadle said, is there a Sims Plus subscription? That sounds like something that will be implemented to me. It makes all the sense in the world. You pay $10 a month, you get access to all of the content in all the Sims packs. There you go. In terms of what I want from the future of the Sims, I'm really not interested in multiplayer at all. I
was wondering, like I saw in chat, Lexi said what I was kind of thinking, where it's like, oh, we have the 3DS is going to be a new pillar next to the Game Boy Advance. And we're still going to have the Game Boy going forward. I feel like that's maybe what they're saying here a little bit, where it's like, the Project Renee is in Sims 5. We're not going to be replacing the Sims 4. But let's say the Sims 5 thing, this Project Renee takes off and really is huge. And if is a much more modern experience and has the things that like fans maybe didn't even know they wanted. And I'm starting to think that because that, can't remember the name of it, but that Sims-like game that was announced at Opening Night Live that had the very realistic character models that people were able to use. They played the demo and they were able to mess around with Inzoi, yes. And people were able to mess around with that, and they like immediately, like in 5 minutes, they're making Billie Eilish and all these people. It was just like super realistic and I think appealing looking. And there's going to be competitors like that now, and Sims 4 is kind of maybe old-fashioned at this point. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, The Sims 4... Yeah, the problem they would get with completely rebooting and doing a Sims 5, one of the many problems they would have, is the reset problem. Because The Sims 4, when it launched 10 years ago, was pretty featureless. Like, it didn't have certain things like... There were life stages that were missing. Like, I don't think there were toddlers. There wasn't...
Yes.
Pools or something. Like, there was a lot of key Sim stuff that was missing. People were like, it was not a good launch for them, but over years, like, it has become such a stable cash cow. Like, and that is because of the constant improvements to base game that the Sims team has made. But they are only allowed to do that. Allowed is because expansion packs make so much money. In terms of so going at this point from a game that they have kept alive for 10 years. Inzoi. Oh, I haven't played it yet. There feels something like kind of weird about Inzoi. We just saw Life by You, which is by Humble, like not the company, Rod or Ron? Rod Humble, who used to be the exec producer of The Sims 2. He was making a Sims competitor with Paradox. And if you look at that game, like, damn, okay, that's just The Sims. Shut down, like delayed multiple times, shut down completely before it even went into beta, like an open beta. So it's like, it's weird that there aren't really as many competitors as you would think.
I think the reason I think Inzoi might be different is waifus. We are in an era where if you do that game, but with waifus, it can become huge. And I think people will be able to make their waifus. I mean,
you got to see what people can do in The Sims, man.
But I think that, right. No, I know people do that in The Sims, but like to present the game as here, because like I could do that in like Breath of the Wild, but there's a reason people play Genshin Impact, because that is the waifu Breath of the Wild to a lot of people. And like, but I can go hack that into
Breath of the Waifu.
I can go hack that into Breath of the Wild if I really wanted to, and people can definitely mod that, and a lot of people mod. But I think there's something about just being the game that is like, no, this is the one with waifus, and it's got all the other stuff you want. I don't know. The market seems ripe for that at the moment.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just really interested to see what they do with it. It's like, I've been a Sims player for 25 years. 25 years.
God, that means I probably haven't played The Sims in like 20-ish years plus. I need to play it again. I want to play it real bad.
You know what they should do? Just remake The Sims 2. The Sims 2 was the best one. Like, if you go back now, there's people on TikTok who do comparisons of Sims 2 animations versus the same thing happening in Sims 4. There's more detailed animations in Sims 2. There's more. Yeah. Sims 2 was incredible.
It's
anyway.
The Far Cry 2 of The Sims. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. It's a sentence that people say all the time.
Yeah.
All right. And Nintendo is looking to add Super Nintendo Entertainment System mouse support to Switch Online games, it is claimed. This is from Jordan Miller at VGC. Nintendo is looking to explore ways to support the Super Nintendo mouse games on Nintendo Switch Online. That's according to evidence found in the service's backend by reliable data miner Luigi Blood, which is an incredible name. According to the user, Switch Online's Super Nintendo emulator, which is used for its library of Super Nintendo games for Switch Online subscribers, has secretly contained Super Nintendo mouse support since launch. However, what's notable is that there's now apparent evidence that it was recently significantly updated in the emulator code. In today's Super Nintendo and Nintendo Switch Online update, Luigi Blood found evidence, of a major rework to the Super Nintendo mouse support, including support for both controller ports, the ability to replace inputs of Super Nintendo mouse devices, and a different behavior mode. It's speculated that the mention of Super Nintendo mouse behavior configuration could mean that Nintendo is looking into ways to support the Super Nintendo mouse in different, possibly more accessible ways than using a USB mouse. Only 2 games were released for Super Nintendo exclusively for using its mouse accessory, Mario Paint and Mario and Wario. A third, Sound Fantasy, was completed but never released. I hope they do this. I really like Mario Paint, and I think that would be a cool thing to pop onto Nintendo Switch Online. And then I don't know if like plugging in a mouse isn't necessarily going to be the way that I'm going to want to play it, but what if I could use the touchscreen or even just like the pointer controls of a Joy-Con? That seems like that should work, and you would need to sort of emulate that in the back end, and maybe that's what this is gesturing towards. Any love for Mario Paint on your side of the pond when you were a kid?
No, I wasn't a Nintendo kid when I grew up.
Yeah.
That feels weird.
Yeah, it's
what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean,
only 2 games are released using its mouse accessory.
Yeah, it might have like.
Why are they doing this?
Well, Mario Paint is like kind of a little bit of a nostalgic institution. It's got its place now where people do think very fondly of it. Like, Mario Maker made a million references to Mario Paint. it's definitely something that people would want to see return. Cult classics, maybe it's kind of even maybe a little bit of a step above cult classic, but definitely at least a cult classic. So, and also they are kind of running out of things to put on Switch Online that are just very easy and obvious, because they don't seem to be paying out a lot of money to third parties to let them put their games on there. And that means it's Jalico and Majesco every time, and that's starting to run its course. The Jalicals out there, well, they're the Jalical game cats. So yeah, if this is, it's probably not too much work because a lot of emulators do have ways of mimicking the Super Nintendo mouse. So they probably just looked around like, let's just do this, get it done. They also probably have a dedicated technology team. I think it is Nintendo European Research and Development, NERD, that actually does a lot of this stuff. So maybe they're just like, we're coming into work every day anyhow. We did this work. Let's just actually put it in there and release this thing. So that would be cool. All right. Finally, well, the last two stories very quick. Nintendo added 4 new Super Nintendo games to Switch Online. Battletoads Double Dragon, Big Run, Race Across the... Oh, yeah, that's the description. Big Run, which was a racing game. I think it was only released in Japan. Cosmo Gang The Puzzle, a falling block style puzzler, and Kunio-kun no Dodgeball Daio Zinin Shugo, which is a Super Dodgeball sequel for the Super Nintendo, I believe. Cool. I like Battletoads Double Dragon quite a bit. It's a good fun game. And then Freedom Wars.
Never played them.
Yeah, Battletoads is it's a weird one. Yeah, me and Mike talk about like we talk about Battletoads and especially Double Dragon. Like, oh, were a big deal when we were kids, and now Double Dragon just couldn't be any smaller. It feels like,
unless you're singing the Wii Shop Wednesday. So.
It's very important for that, of course. Freedom Wars Remastered is coming to PC, Switch, and PlayStation in January. This is from Jordan Midler at VGC. The PlayStation Vita.
Midler.
Yeah, Midler is back at. I had type his name as Midlier earlier, and I thought that was pretty funny. The PlayStation Vita cult hit is being remastered and will be released on January 10th for Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, and PC. The remastered version of the game will include 4K resolution, upgraded textures, and 60 frames per second on PC and PlayStation systems, according to the press release. This was a Vita cult hit, and I think it plays like Monster Hunter, is my understanding, and people were pretty excited to see this coming back.
I saw this one was a young Michael Hyam had the exclusive on this one for IGN. I wanted to give him props because
shout out to Michael Hyam.
He's a good egg.
He's a good boy.
He's a good boy. He is. I was very excited to get to play that. Yeah, I never played Freedom Wars, but Vita means life.
Apparently it does. Apparently it still means life somehow. This is the Freedom Wars trailer where someone's getting arrested and sentenced in prison 1 million. Yeah, this looks pretty good. I could see why they were bringing it back because it was probably relatively easy to upgrade from the Vita and make it look like a modern release that would stand next to anything else coming out. Okay, let's see here. I have a poll question. Let me refresh this, make sure it's here. Did we actually, is this the question from yesterday? Did you ever play the original Flappy? Oh, from Monday. That's right. Okay. Yes. Did you ever play the original Flappy Bird? 35% said no. 65% said yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It really was that popular. You played Flappy Bird?
Oh, big time.
Yeah. I liked it a lot. I had a good time with it just because I would really get into any sort of leaderboard chasing, and that game had like, oh, yeah, I got 65. Can you beat that? And then finally, I dialed it in and was able to get a couple hundred in it eventually. So.
My roommate was at the time because it was at uni. My roommate, or like, were we living in London at that point? I forget. He was an absolute menace at this game. Like he was so good. He would miss bus stops because he was so locked in.
Yeah, it's important. You got to lock in.
Yeah. I was never as good. Never as good.
Well, yeah, it's a game where it's like it's just one skill and you got to really figure it out. But once you do, you got to hone it, and then once you do, you can kind of make it go for quite a long time. Okay, new poll question. We'll get to that in a second. Before we do that, Lucy James, why don't you tell people where they can find you on the internet, what you have going on, things like that.
You can find me at Lucy James Games. However, there was a new episode of Star Players up on GameSpot. I got to interview Zed, the DJ, who was so nice.
He seemed very nice.
He was so lovely, and also a big fan of Feeder, the band, which I'm also a big fan of. And so that was really nice, but not related to video games. But I did get to play DJ Hero with him. Turns out it's not very accurate. Spoiler for the video. But it's a fun video, and also I feel really bad because I called, because he says, like, he used to play Widow and Tracer, and I was like, oh, so you're annoying. Like, as like 1,000+ hours in Overwatch, I was like, oh, you're that kind of
that kind of player.
But no, it was a very, very fun shoot. And that's up on the GameSpot YouTube channel right now. Other than that, there is a Jeff's from last week. I can't talk about the other videos that I've made because they're embargoed for a little bit. But then, yeah, that's it. Go watch Stop Plays.
Yep. I real quick, I'll have an embargoed video going up at 9 a.m. Eastern tomorrow, 6 a.m. Pacific. Little travelogue, mini travelogue, everybody. Tune in for that. It'll be a good time. Okay, let's see here. New poll question. Also, I'm supposed to say Blight Club at 12 p.m. Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern. And also, Jen, I think, said hi. Maybe this is Sean. Hi, guys. Appreciate it. New poll question. Are you happy with the alleged leaked Nintendo Switch 2 renders? Very happy, happy, meh, unhappy, and very unhappy. Those are your options. Just kind of want to gauge people, because I'm looking at this thing, I'm kind of like, meh. And that's not going to matter when I'm holding it and actually playing it. But anytime like that forced obsolescence is a real thing, you want to feel the reasons to upgrade, which is why, when the PlayStation 5 has a different UX than the PlayStation 4, it's like, oh, it's something new. And now I'm like, man, I kind of wish it just worked like the PlayStation 4. That was better. But yeah, we'll get the results of this poll on Game Mess Mornings here on Giant Bomb tomorrow for the new episode. Speaking of Giant Bomb, like I said, Blight Club coming up in a little bit. If there's anything else happening today, we'll let you know. But we're going to fit some stuff in tomorrow as well. Definitely look out for Voicemail Dump Truck coming back. Friday, we'll have a bunch of games on UPF. It's going to be a good week, everybody. All right, Lucy James, thank you so much for speaking with me about video games today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks. I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you for listening. Until next time, have a good one, everybody. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.